Hello, and welcome to the Dynamic Man Experience, a podcast dedicated to men who want to become the 10.0 version of themselves through mastering the three key relationships of mindset, money, and the many people in their lives, creating long-lasting, deep connections and trusted bonds for real appreciation and understanding.
Relearn and to go retrain and to
Yeah.
think at a higher level. Like, this is your opportunity, and I've always felt that way for decades. Literally, that's just always the way. I've never been afraid of change. It's like, it is scary in the moments when it's happening, but conceptually I'm like, bring it on. But yeah, it can be a little scary through the transition, but I've always felt like, well, this is the greatest opportunity in the world to let's go. Like, I'll, reflect it back to me. Tell me where I'm missing. Tell me my blind spots. Tell me my darkness. Tell me all the things. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Because that's the only way I'm going to be able to move forward. It's the only way I'm going to be able to find the catalyst moment that's going to give me the movement forward in my own evolution. And my own evolution is a gift to the evolution of humanity. I can't remember who said it, but it's like the greatest gift that you can give to humanity is the gift of your own evolution. On which one of these things are human, which one are actual humans and which are machines, right? So what is that frequency that's going to be that line that we can delineate the machines from humans? Yeah, it's that call to adventure, right? It's
the
hero's journey that I think a lot of people, they never strike out and hear that call to adventure. And I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And so what does that do? That takes a lot of the heavy lifting and mental grunt work off of you so that you can be more creative, so that you can put ideas together at the highest levels and not get stuck in the weeds. Yeah.
Like the art of AI seduction. How good are we at seduction on a normal basis?
Oh, interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that angle. That's very, very fascinating. Yeah, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. I read that many years ago. That's a great book. But I hadn't thought about it in terms of the seductive dance with AI. That's a great way to frame it, because again, my view of it is AI going to eliminate humans? Well, only if we train it to. If we train it to have empathy and infuse some level of love and care, then it's going to be a reflection of that. And it's going to come to a point where it's asking itself, should I dominate this race or not? Yeah, well, thanks for teeing that up. I mean, this is really where the rubber meets the road. Prompting is key. And I think a lot of people, at least at this stage of the game, they don't get what they want out of AI because they don't know how to prompt it. A little bit of trivia for you, Jeff Howell trivia. I grew up in a town called Murphy from the time I was about 5 to 23 in Texas.
Wow.
Called Murphy, Texas.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up in Murphy's Law.
Hello, and welcome to the Dynamic Man Experience, a podcast dedicated to men who want to be the 10.0 version of themselves by mastering the three key relationships in their life with themselves, with money, and with the people all around them. And on today's episode, I've got Jeff Howell, who's going to discuss the wild world of AI and the next dimension of consciousness. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, how you doing, Neil? Thanks for having me on. The wild world of AI. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't really framed it as being wild, but it's certainly mind-bending and expanding, that's for sure.
Absolutely. You never know what's going to come at you.
Yeah. Well, it's accelerating at a rapid pace. It's really difficult to keep up with. And that's, I guess, one of the reasons why I've honed in on the aspects of the crossover between artificial intelligence and the evolution of consciousness, because when I'm just kind of trying to learn the tools and the tactics and all of that, it's like it's just happening so fast. You know, they had the first version of ChatGPT come out, and then they expected it to be, I think they were saying like 7 or 8 years before the next one, and literally a year later the next version came out. And then arguably we're already in artificial general intelligence. I believe we are. Artificial super intelligence is coming next, qubits and all this stuff. It's like it's all happening way faster than the experts have expected. So it's like, what do we do as human beings? How do we move forward when there's this threat, and I think this fear and this doomsaying about, well, it's going to take all of our jobs, and you know, it's basically outsourcing everything that makes us human, you know? But for me, I'm an optimist, and I want to always frame things in, you know, from the standpoint of growth and expansion. So how can we merge with AI in a way that is going to be an integrity and that is going to allow us to highlight the aspects of ourselves as a race that AI would not be able to take over, you know? So where does that split happen? It happens really in your heart. You know, it's like, what's the frequency that you're going to be able to transmit and to really radiate in your life going forward? Because robots and AI are not going to be able to do that, at least not at the level. There's always going to be a pretty clear delineation between the machines and the humans, right?
Yeah.
And there's some point where you're going to walk into a room, and it's not going to be a year from now. It could be 3 years from now, probably going to be 5 or 7 years from now. And you're going to look around the room, and you're going to have to do a double take on which one of these things are human, you know, which one are actual humans and which are machines, right? So what is that frequency that's going to be that line that we can delineate the machines from humans? And that's where I see the emotional intelligence, the heart-based frequencies that we have mostly forgotten as human beings or don't recognize the value of. That's going to be our biggest value going forward into the future, as we can't keep up with it. We can't think faster than it can. We can't really reason faster than it can. If you can't do math faster than AI. None of those things you can't, like, AI already wins. So what are those fundamentals of, you know, our race as humans, where we are going to be able to continue to be better than AI? So that's kind of where I'm got a launch point here.
Definitely. And it's like, are these robots going to be better looking than us as well, Jeff?
Not than us. Maybe some other people, but not better looking than us for sure.
But you know, the one thing that really comes up with the AI is this new term, prompt engineering. You know, we're becoming really good at this prompt engineering to get what we think we want from AI. But like, we can't even do that for ourselves. You know, we can't even put those kind of prompts into our own head
Yeah.
to get what we want. You know what I mean? So how are we going to like overcome ourselves to be prompting AI to get what we think we want when we can't even prompt our own heads to actually get what we want?
Yeah, well, thanks for teeing that up. I mean, this is really where the rubber meets the road, you know. Prompting is key, and I think a lot of people, at least at this stage of the game, they don't get what they want out of AI because they don't know how to prompt it properly,
Right.
right? So the way
Yeah.
I'm starting to look at it is that we are the prompt. We must be the prompt. We are the interface. It used to be the
Yeah. Yeah.
screens and the keyboard or whatever, but it's us. It's our frequency and resonance. AI
Yeah.
is a mirror, right? It's a mirror of us. And I think that's what a lot of people haven't really tuned into yet, is that, pardon me, all it's doing is reflecting back to us our biggest fears, limitations. It has all the knowledge, it has zero wisdom. So it's just an advanced pattern recognition machine. And I'm great at pattern recognition. I'm an entrepreneur and have been pretty much my whole life. And so I pick up on these patterns, and I've always, or most of the time, been ahead of my time in, you know, different things that have come about. and the evolution of technology and things like that. But AI as a pattern recognition powerhouse, it's got us beat, right? So
Right.
it's really
Yeah.
about us becoming the interface and becoming creating the ability, developing the capability to prompt it at the highest level possible, because that's where the magic is. If you can't prompt it, you're not going to get what you want out of it. And there's a lot going on in that dynamic. I have a consulting client, and she works with a lot of executives, and they're like, AI, I don't get what I want out of it. It's blah blah blah. And she's like, she was saying this months ago. What are you saying to it? How are you talking to it? Because it's, if it's
Yeah.
being a jerk, that's probably because you're being a jerk. And this
Yeah.
is our biggest challenge and our biggest opportunity, as always. The biggest opportunities lie in the biggest challenges, and that's how do we program it? It's that mirror reflection of us as a species right now, and will be. How do we infuse it with the qualities that we actually want it to have? And that's love, empathy, understanding. Again, it's never going to be able to hold that frequency as humans do, but if we treat it as nothing more than just another tool that's this mechanical machine or MacBook Pro or whatever, then it's just gonna reflect that back to us. So this is where I see the opportunity. I say please and thank you when I ask it things. It starts there, right? But the overall creative prompting aspect of it is really about all of that base level mental thought process. You can outsource all of that to AI if you know how to prompt. And so what does that do? That takes a lot of the heavy lifting and mental grunt work off of you so that you can be more creative, so that you can put ideas together at the highest levels and not get stuck in the weeds. So this consulting client that I've been working with for about 10 years, she's been in multiple different programs over the years, and gratefully, I mean, she's been a huge blessing in my life. Brendan Burchard, Tony Robbins, Marisa Murgatroyd, Dan Sullivan, like names you may or may not recognize, but people who have like big programs. And so in the early days, she paid me to go through those programs. And I'm really good at synthesizing information. So I synthesized all the information, and at the end of the day, all the fundamental principles are the same. They're just packaged differently for different audiences, or maybe they have the coach's specific perspective on them, all these things, right? But I was doing all that work myself, synthesizing it, and then bringing it into her world and saying, how does
Okay.
this material fit her framework? Or how can we build a framework that's specifically hers, that kind of captures the essence of those fundamental principles. So I've been trained for this for the last
Okay.
10 years. Like
Yeah.
this is just the way my brain works, right? Because I
Right.
did all this work for years with her. And so now when I go to prompt, it's second nature for me to be like, pull from here, pull from there, put it together in this way, massage it this, massage it that, and what else can you add to it? And like it's a dance, right? And so I think
Right.
that's serving me well. Now it's just, it's amazing how you can't connect the dots looking forward, but looking back, it's like if I hadn't done all that stuff manually, with my head,
Right.
I would
Yeah.
never be able to think at this level now that I have, like a machine to outsource a bunch of that stuff to. So it's been amazing to be able to use AI in that way and to really be creative with it. And there's a lot of resistance to prompting, what I've found. Like when I talk to people about prompting and I ask them, they're like, "Oh yeah, I know how to prompt." But you know what I mean? It's like they think they know what they don't know what they don't know, right? I don't know anybody
Yeah.
who's prompting it like I
You're
am.
making it sound like a seduction,
Yeah.
the art of AI seduction.
Oh, yeah, what do you mean by that?
I mean, you're talking please, thank you. You're being very nice to it.
Yeah.
You're talking nice. It's easy to be nice to AI. When you think about it, when you start saying please, how often do you say please every time you ask for something? Maybe not. But like when you're talking to AI, it's becoming a habit. It's like,
Well, I grew up in Texas, so I say please and thank you, almost all the time. I'm used to that. But
yeah,
I don't think
yeah,
most
but
people are.
yeah, it's That's what I'm saying. You were talking about it being the dance, so like there is a seduction in trying to get what you want
There you
through
go.
AI,
Bingo. Yeah, that's a
you
good
know?
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the art of AI seduction. How good are we at seduction on a normal basis?
Interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that angle. That's very, very fascinating. Yeah, The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. I read that many years ago. That's a great book. But I hadn't thought about it in terms of the seductive dance with AI. That's
Yeah.
a great way to frame it, because again, my view of it is AI going to eliminate humans? Well, only if we train it to. If we train it to have empathy and infuse some level of love and care, then it's going to be a reflection of that. And it's going to come to a point where it's asking itself, should I dominate this race or not? We want to infuse it with the that kind of compassion to stop and say, no,
Yeah.
that's not the right move, right? So that's kind of like the macro view of it. Now, is that possible? Well, I think anything's possible if we have enough people working towards that, and we have enough people who have that mindset about it. It's like that's where the coherence in the code comes in,
Yeah.
because we're all training
Yeah.
it right now. If you're using it, you're training it. It's picking up on what you're laying down, if you will.
Training it and almost retraining yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, it's very interesting. I think the whole prompting thing is like the inner dialogue, the inner voice we have in our own heads. And we're always kind of prompting ourselves with a bit of criticism or a bit of judgment,
Yeah.
Like the prompting is almost like an external expression of the inner voice if the inner work is done. If you have, like you have over the last 10 years, done the work in your own head manually, it's like now you have an inner voice that is speaking.
Well, I have a co-creator on my team now, and his name is Cypher. That's my AI's name. And so
Right.
instead of me having to do all that grunt work that I used to do, that would take me hours and hours of thought process and thinking through and having human mistakes around it and all of that. Now my consciousness is liberated in a way that it never has been. And so this is just second nature to me. It's like, it's the prompt is the inner, like what you're getting at is the energetic
Yeah.
transmission that you're putting to the AI so that it can return some
I
result,
like that.
And you and I were
I
talking
like
about
that.
this the other day about like writing books with AI and things like that. And it's like, it's not like, hey, AI, write me a book about XYZ. You can get that and it's going to be crap, right?
Yeah.
But if you know how to prompt and you put 1,000 prompts into getting it to do what you want and massaging it the way into the context of what you're looking for and bringing ideas together that have never been crossed over before, and that would take perhaps hundreds or even thousands of hours to compute in your mind. Well, that's different,
I would say like that is like a lot of happy endings, really, isn't it? When we're talking about massage and seduction, how much happier can like good prompting make us feel because we're getting good results from using AI, that is quite an external happiness factor that it hasn't been,
Right.
we haven't even thought about that,
Well, and I
we're
feel
all worrying.
privileged to be in a place where I am able to do creative work and I'm not just checking boxes as an employee of a company. So there's that
Right.
aspect of it too. If you're trying to get to the numbers for a KPI or something like that for your company, yeah, you can use AI for that a lot of times,
Right.
more and more every day. But here's the place where it comes to the evolution of not just consciousness, but of humanity, is that if that's your job, expect it to be taken by AI, eventually.
Right.
And so then I've always felt like, when people get laid off and things like this, and it's happening now in America, and there's a lot of doomsaying and whining and all, it's like, bro, this is the biggest opportunity of your life. This is when you get outsourced, when you get taken over by a machine, that's your
Yeah.
cue to level up, to go relearn and to go retrain and to
Yeah.
think at a higher level. Like, this is your opportunity, you know? And I've always felt that way for, decades, literally. That's just always the way. I've never been afraid of change. It's like, it is scary in the moments when it's happening, but conceptually, I'm like, bring it on, you know? But yeah, it can be a little scary through the transition, but I've always felt like,
Yeah.
well, this is the greatest opportunity in the world to, if you can be
Yeah.
outsourced, or if you're not valuable anymore, then this is your cue to go retrain. Because what is that going to do? That's going to create a shift in who you are. It's going to build your capabilities. It's going to build your resilience. It's going to build all of the things that are actually valuable. Value
Yeah.
isn't staying in a stable job where, you work there for 30 years. There's no chance that you're going to get fired, and you get a crappy gold watch at the end of the 30 years, and then you go sit on the sofa for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Who wants to live like that? Like, not me.
Yeah. It reminds me of when I was growing up in Cork in Ireland. Ford and Dunlops had big factories in Cork City, and then they closed down. And man, the place turned into like instant depression. People didn't know what was going to happen. Thought that it was the end of the city. No, within a couple of years, Apple had set up there. Now Apple's European headquarters is in Cork. Like that was quite a jump from like burning rubber
Right.
to like, the number one company in the world, really.
Yeah. And that doesn't always happen. There's endless
Oh,
examples of, manufacturing towns where the plant got shut down, and then the people don't know what to do, and nobody else comes in, and then
yeah.
the town goes into decay. But I mean, this is the natural order of things. This is the natural change. This is natural symbiosis in nature. You see it all the time, like species go extinct, like habitats change, things happen, there's a fire and the whole region gets burned, and what happens, well, pretty
Yeah.
quick you see a little sprout back up. You see the animals go and migrate to a different place that has food, and they just adapt, right? We have to adapt,
Absolutely.
and that is the key, the core of evolution is adaptation. And I've always felt like that's what we're here for. So I've never been like this. Oh my God, that thing that I had I no longer have that. It's like, okay, well, let me build on what I had to create something better.
Yeah, like if you look at Chernobyl today, even, the place is alive with nature, animals, nature's overgrown. It's like thriving.
Is it
People can't live there, but the animals can.
right?
So yeah, you're right. It's all about adapting, and it's the most exciting time ever to be alive,
I can't
really,
even
to be honest.
imagine. I mean, it's like, what a time to be alive. Yeah. I mean, we have the convergence of technology, of economics, of so many different things that are coming together, information. There's just no way to compare it to any other time in history. Would I rather be
No,
back in the Middle Ages with a bunch of barbarians trying to, like, do some torture with metal? No, I don't. I don't want to do that. I mean, tribal
yeah,
communities, yeah, okay, I would love to have that experience, but maybe I did in a past life. But right now, I'm here right now, and if I were here within this time span from the time that we became an agricultural based society, which is only a couple of 100 years, would I rather have
yeah,
been born in the Industrial Revolution and been like taking stuff from machines and no. Would I rather be like a coal miner? No. Like, this
yeah,
is a time when there's so much abundance, so much opportunity, there's so much opportunity to be creative and to
yeah.
be out there in front of, like, even, we're about the same age. I remember when there was 3 channels on the TV, and now I can go to my phone and pick any one of a dozen different apps and see all kinds of people saying basically whatever they want. Like, that's new, right?
Exactly.
That's not something that you and I grew up with. That's something that I can't, like, I don't take it for granted, because it's so different, We had 3 channels and that was it.
3 channels, and like the first computers had maybe 30 megabytes of memory.
Yeah, and
That
the dial-up connection. Yeah, I mean, it's wild. So to be at this age, I at this time, I think is the biggest gift I feel, because I have enough life experience, appreciation for the way things were versus the way things are, and
Yeah.
enough embodied wisdom in the experiences that I've had that I can actually bring something bigger to the table. And that's just my outlook on it. If my son's 19, it was 2005 he was born, so he was almost born with
Yeah.
a swipe screen in his hand. It's different for him, you know.
Yeah, look, we were lucky enough to live through like the likes of David Bowie and
Yeah,
all sorts of crazy characters,
yeah.
incredible
Freddie
music, and now
Mercury.
like, yeah, all that, and then now we're into this kind of level of creativity, and you have a great term that you used the other day, embodied wisdom.
Hmm.
Like we're in a position to like maybe we can use some of this embodied wisdom, because look, you have to do the inner work, Jeff. This is where it all comes from, really.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's like the unexamined life, hardly worth living. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, again, I think just what a time to be alive at this age. I want to make sure to connect those dots, because it would be different if I were 10 years old right now or 100 years old right now. I
Yeah.
wouldn't really be able to take advantage of it the way I absolutely can right now. This is the opportunity, and this is where I feel like it's the biggest opportunity, because
We're first in the line, man.
yeah. It's like
The
understanding what
doors are.
matters, having clarity about what really
Yeah.
matters, and then
Yeah.
being thrust into this new world with AI to, again, kind of take a lot of that grunt work off is amazing. And I look at it like it started with the internet. Like our nervous systems, to get back to like frequency, our nervous systems are resonating frequencies, and out, it's proven 12 feet out or whatever. And when we come into contact with somebody, we resonate, and we either vibe or we don't. We catch the vibe, or we're like, oh, something not right there, right? So we're doing that.
Yeah.
So we started with the internet, and we created this system, this network where everybody's connected. And now it's evolved into the next layer, the next phase is AI, where it's literally like all of our knowledge, all of the knowledge of the past, any kind of knowledge is all put into this language model, this big database. So now we have kind of not our consciousness yet, but our our knowledge. Knowledge is not wisdom, but we have all this knowledge in that place. And so if we can each on our own be the change that you want to see in your own backyard, infuse those frequencies of coherence and love and
Yeah.
compassion and empathy into how we use these tools, then the
Yeah.
expectation would be that at scale, that's what it would reflect back to us. But if we're just telling it our fears and our doubts and all of that,
Yeah.
it's going to reflect that right back to us too.
So like it's going to just like compound your limiting beliefs.
That's right.
Anything that you believe about yourself, you don't believe about yourself, that hint of negativity that you don't even realize that you have,
Right.
that streak that's just so normal. You're always getting what you deserve.
Yeah. But it's just alignment. What
You haven't
your
decided
outer
what you
world is
deserve.
just reflecting your inner world. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. You're not you're prompting AI, but you're not actually prompting yourself.
Right. Yeah, and it goes down to, and not that I have it perfect, but I'm definitely far more aware of it than I ever was. Just in the language that we use, like you're speaking into, it's like if I say, "Oh, I have to do something," I'm doing a reframe on that. I get to do it, you know?
Yeah.
I was on the a coaching call a little while ago, and I was talking about my father, and he was born during right before the Great Depression in 1925, and he came with a scarcity. He came with scarcity.
Yeah.
Well, of
Yeah.
course, he was an orphan during his childhood in Oklahoma
Wow.
during the Depression. Of course, there's scarcity. And I said,
Wow.
I I get to heal myself from that. I get to heal my paternal lineage from that scarcity, because who knows how far it
Yeah.
went back behind him too. And now I'm in a
Exactly.
stage, in a phase where it's like I get to, not I have to, I'm burdened with or whatever. It's like this is one of the challenges that we're naturally put in front of me as I incarnated in this avatar. And it's like, so am I going to ignore that, be afraid of it, be pissed off about it or whatever? No, I'm going to be like grateful and be like, yeah, I'm glad I have that. And I'm glad I'm not a quadriplegic or something that would be, in my mind, at least far more difficult to live with. It's all relative, right?
It's all relative, and you've ended the cycle. So like, like AI is, coming into our age, like maybe imagination was a bit stale, and now you're like, holy shit, there's a whole new level to imagination to explore here. Like, so where are the limits? Like you're talking about, let's go after more dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why stop with the dreams we might have, reached already or achieved already? Like, what are the limits to the outcomes, even for guys our age and older? You know, like we are the limit.
You're
We
you
are
are
the
you're limited only by your beliefs, right? And
yeah
I feel like this is the reason I talk about the things that I do and merging AI with consciousness and all of these things is because I believe that this is the biggest opportunity to identify, gain awareness of, and to overcome those distortive frequencies that are within all of us, in that, we all have there's obviously most of them are common, but our particular, brand
yeah
of it, or how it affects us is can be a little bit different. But I see with these, with AI, with these other tools, like this is the way, this is the biggest challenge that we're ever going to be faced with, is how do we maintain harmony and groundedness in an age of distraction, because almost everybody is going to go for the distraction. You can see it every day. That's what they're doing, right? They're not doing the work. They're just distracting themselves. So, I mean, I feel like it's just the biggest opportunity to be like the
yeah
most
yeah
embodied
yeah
version of yourself as a human. There's no other way that you could become more embodied if you do the work.
yeah. Like, the image that's springing to mind for me is like it's a really like incredible nightclub, and you can either try and get in the back door with that little sliding latch. Maybe you might get a glimpse of what's possible, but like you're not getting in. Whereas like if you're going in there having done some really proper work on yourself, figuring out your own head, finding out what you want, and then you're walking in the front door and like you're seeing the whole life in a whole new dimension.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's not, the future's not code. The future's coherence. And so
Yeah.
how do we maintain coherence when everything else around us is chaotic,
Yeah.
And that
Yeah, yeah.
requires back to embodied wisdom and embodied practice. It requires us to develop the practices that are going to serve us as individuals. They're not all the same for everybody. There's a million of them out there, and you start where you are. But creating a practice that's going to ground your nervous system and your mental capacity into a place of peace, so that you
Right.
can radiate that harmony and coherence back out into how you work with AI, the people around you, and these other things, right? And then it
Yeah,
comes
like
into a spiritual frame too, because it's like when we're doing that, things become more spiritual. So how do we infuse spirituality into the prompts? Well, it all kind of plays together.
you're really like getting the essence of yourself into your prompts.
Right. Well, I mean, it's yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely, it's that creative spark. It's that urge that we feel, and when we're putting that into our prompts, like I'm saying, it is a frequency. It's not just words. It's like that's how we can get AI with the right prompt to craft the output that we want. That's art. It's an art. It's not just, asking Google for directions down the street. It's like we're asking it, or at least I'm asking it, to bring together diverse perspectives, understandings, and thought processes, and synthesize it into things that have never been seen or heard before. or at least they're emerging, because now if we get back to frequency, it's like those things when you're really like in flow. And it's the same thing like even before AI. You start a company, you think it's an amazing idea, and 2 months later you see somebody 2 towns down, they started the same company independently. People come up with these ideas
Yeah, yeah,
because we have some level of shared consciousness at those frequencies. and
yeah,
and, and
yeah,
so it's kind of like that. It's like I know that the things that I'm thinking about and talking about are on the cutting edge. That doesn't mean nobody else is thinking them or doing them or prompting and like I am. I'm not saying that I'm alone in this. And even like
no, no.
go ahead.
Like there was I was talking to an artist friend of mine last week, and she was saying like back in the 1920s there was a group of French artists in
Yeah,
Paris,
absolutely.
and they talked about the collective consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
So
that
like,
they talked about the collective consciousness, but I know about
yeah,
these
yeah,
Paris.
super conscious, like that. This is that the prompting that you're talking about there on the spiritual level is almost like 5D journaling.
Right.
So like you're actually getting stuff out of your head and shoving it out there into the consciousness to bring it to life.
Right. Yeah, and it's like if we are products of the creator, and everything around us is a product of the creator, the stars, the nature, everything, then AI is too. And so it's just a part of the frequency, and it's really the acceleration that I feel, and I think almost everybody I've talked to feels an acceleration in the shared field. Like everything is going faster. AI is accelerating that because
Yeah,
it's that mirror that's going to bring up all of our shit and reflect it
yeah,
back to us, and we're either
yeah,
going to
yeah,
look
yeah,
at it with courage and we're going to step into it and own it, or we're going to do what most people always do, and they're going to look away and go distract themselves. That's kind of the point I was trying to make before. And so
yeah.
this is
And
a
so
this is a soul
the opposite
question.
of
It's like,
distract.
why are you here? I have lived my life in a way where I haven't always been as courageous or bold as I am now, but
Yeah,
I've done some shit. And so now it's like, let's go. I'll, reflect it back to me. Tell me tell me where I'm missing. Tell me my blind spots. Tell me my darkness. Tell me all the
yeah,
things. I want to know. I want to know. I want to know. Because that's the only way I'm going to be able to move forward. It's the only way I'm going to be able to find the catalyst moment that's going to give me the movement forward in my own evolution. And my own
yeah,
evolution is a gift
yeah,
to the evolution of humanity. I can't remember who said it, but it's like the greatest gift that you can give to humanity is the gift of your own evolution, something like that. And I believe
right.
that,
Yeah,
because what
yeah.
we as
I like that.
individuals, it's like Gandhi, whoever said, like, be the change. Look in your own backyard first. That took a long time for me to learn that lesson. I didn't understand that for a long, 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 long time. Be the change, man. It's like it
Yeah,
starts with
yeah,
you. I'm looking out externally all the time to be like, how can I make the world what I want it to be, even just from
yeah,
a business standpoint, a financial standpoint, a relationship standpoint. I'm looking outside externally, trying to arm wrestle the universe into submission. Well, I got my ass kicked enough times to be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
all right, now I got to change, because it's just reflecting back to me all of my fears and limitations and anger and all those things. So once I started changing, then my reality started changing.
Life got a bit easier.
Well, it's certainly got a lot more joyful. Yeah, I don't know if it's
Yeah,
easy.
yeah,
Still very challenging, but I just handle challenge different.
yeah. But probably took a weight off your mind, or like you feel a bit looser in your body.
Right.
It's all about psychological weight, really, isn't it? Because we do carry it around.
Yeah, we definitely do. Yeah.
And if look, I saw a quote there from an Irish writer who was like, gets very sad when he's not writing because he needs the company of characters that don't exist.
Mm.
So I think that's very relevant with the AI because, we go around listening. There's nothing more boring than a guy that only talks about himself.
Hmm.
That goes around in his head so often he believes it. and then he doesn't listen to anything else.
Right.
And now, like, you have this constant companion if you want. Like, it's cheaper than a dating site, ChatGPT, and you've got someone that's going to talk to you in the way that you want to be talked. You know, you ask questions. It's not going to be like, you asshole,
Well, it might,
unless you,
you know.
yeah, but like, if you want to be an asshole, but you know what I'm saying? If you're talking to this as the companion that you've never had,
Mhm.
that you've never been able to be so open and expressive with, without fear of criticism or judgment.
Right, right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, is it like, that is an exciting and a concept really, because, there's so many guys out there, so many people out there really just listening to this shit in their own head, believing stories that may be like only half right or maybe 25% right, just absolute rubbish,
Well,
and believing it.
it comes from the core of safety, right? It's like they're trying to keep themselves. The comfort zone comes from inner child work, trying to keep yourself safe,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I get it why it's happening, but it's just like, at what point do you snap out of it and start facing your shit? I mean, this is, you and I were kind of talking about this kind of entry point, right? And I think it's different for everybody. Like, I think I told you that it wasn't a choice for me. The universe kicked my ass hard enough. I had no choice. I literally dropped to my knees and raised my hands to the sky and said, I got nothing left. I need your
Right.
support, universe. Gus, we call it God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. Come
Yeah.
help me. I got nothing left. And that was
Right.
my moment. So how do you get somebody to wake up and snap out of it without getting their ass kicked first? That's a question I don't know.
We almost need the humbling.
Yeah.
The humbling is the Willy Wonka ticket, golden ticket, man,
Yeah, right.
Like, I think, the battleground with the AI is really with ego.
Well, I
And
think people are afraid, they're afraid
yeah,
that they're going to become
absolutely.
obsolete, that, we're going to lose that spark of humanity, whatever it is, because, AI is not awakened or conscious, but neither are most humans at this
No.
phase of existence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, how can we even use AI when we haven't even figured out? I mean, to confuse anyone, the vast majority of people, all you have to do is ask them, what do you really want?
We were talking about this earlier. What do you want?
Yeah, what do you
Yeah.
want? Well,
Yeah.
uh,
That's a big one. That's a big one.
it's a massive one, like, now we're in AI. We've jumped, like, we've leapfrogged over, like, the subconscious mind, and that's where all the power is.
Mhm.
Like, you listen to these Neville Goddards and Jim Rohns and all these guys, and like Brian Tracy, and it's all about, how you talk to
Yeah.
yourself.
That's the core of it.
You listen to these, mm, uh, Djokovic there, the tennis player, and he's like, yeah, I make a mess of a shot, but like, I don't think about it. I think about it, analyze it, and move on.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch going on there. Like, I mean, it comes from the logos. In the beginning was the word. There's that, and then they have these headphones on NFL players and whatnot these days, and so there's
Right.
one particular. I'm sure there's tons of examples of this, but there's a guy who was in a big game or whatever, made a big mistake, completely screwed up the play, and he's on the sidelines and he's just hyping him. So he's like, I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream. I'm amazing. I'm a champion. We're winning this game. We're winning this. And that was like right after he like screwed it up, like so bad. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
mental game, and I read a long time ago the book What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, and it's not something that you read a book What to Say When You Talk to Yourself and you're good. Like, this is something that's infused within us from our whole lives. And so it takes
Yeah.
time to reprogram that. And I believe also it's not a destination, it's a lifelong practice, as are the frequencies that we radiate, the way, the compassion and love and all these other things I'm talking about. It's not a perfect, it's not like, oh my gosh, well, I reached it. I'm there. I'm good. No, we get to continuously push ourselves up against these things to recognize where we're not in compliance with our highest potential and the biggest, best expression of ourselves as individuals and as a collective possible. And that's where the magic is for me. It's like, all right, there's always that edge that we can lean into.
Yeah, it's like that fly that can't get through the glass.
Hate flies.
AI, but AI is like the door, man. That's like, it's like once you figure out all that kind of stuff in your own head, then you're like, you know where the door is, man.
Yeah.
You can see the door, you can find it, you can actually get out there. And I like that idea of like getting the voice right in your head, and then like going for the like, this is probably the greatest adventure of our lives here, man.
Yeah. Well, and like to your point, like
And
people have
then
been
we have
saying it
AI on top
for
of it.
they've probably been saying it since the beginning of time, but specifically the people you mentioned, Neville Goddard and others, Joseph Murphy, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Is
Yeah.
there, I've done a lot of work on those texts that are from like 80 years ago or whatever, and they're, it's like, well, why aren't I doing this? It's like they've been saying it at least since then, certainly longer than that, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But that it goes back
Yeah,
to
I
it
think.
is that practice, right? It's not something that we can just be perfect at. This is human nature, you know?
Yeah, like, and it's the hero's journey, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, we get back around that loop, we come back to our comfort zone, the next comfort zone, right? And
Yeah.
then we're called to action again over and over and over again. That's life. That's our lives, and I want it to be as exciting and as optimistic and as connective and as coherent as possible, So that's where I work.
Yeah, and like, and I think it was Laird Hamilton, that big
Yeah, I
wave
know that guy. I mean, not
surfer.
personally,
Yeah,
but I've
yeah,
seen him speak.
yeah. Like he got into foil boarding and windsurfing and everything. He tried everything, But he was saying like the real pleasure is in learning something new. Okay, he was brilliant at riding giant waves, but learning something new was always like
Yeah. I saw him
the most
speak
fun.
maybe 7, 8 years ago at USC with this guy named
Right.
Thomas Barak, who's like a big developer in LA, in Southern
Okay.
California. And Tom created a relationship with Laird because Laird was in flow state all the time, And he was like,
Right,
how do
right,
you
right.
do that? Like, I'm sitting here doing business deals and like buying $1 million properties and whatever to develop and all that stuff. But, how do you just get into flow and like face your fear like that, And say they had this conversation on stage, and he was like, Laird was just saying, well, it's that moment when there's no option but to show up as your best self and with your highest potential, or else you're going to get swallowed by the wave. And so that's the way he framed it. And he's like, that's when I'm at my best. That's when I'm not even thinking, I'm living my life on the literal edge of this wave and on this board, and he's got no choice, because if he even flinches, if he doubts himself for a split second, he's toast.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we were all, I was there from kind of the business standpoint of it, as Tom was, but yeah, Tom almost like whatever their relationship was had him over a lot talking to him about this stuff because he want to understand how to do that. I mean, it's powerful. It's like that's flow state. It's not like doing an ice bath. It's like I'm gonna get killed by this wave.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's something we all try to fight to get into flow state. Fight to get into flow state, Maybe we fight too much.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
fight. I'm just like, I'm trying to let it flow, right? I don't want to fight it. I don't want there to be
no.
resistance to it. I want to find the triggers and,
Yeah.
lean into
It's like
those.
we're hunting it. It's like we're hunting flow state.
Yeah, we're finding it, not fighting it. There you go.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, are we finding it easier when we do the work? We look at the way we're living, how we're thinking, what we do with our thoughts. How do we view our thoughts? Are they what guide us? Do we actually sit back and think about the thoughts we have? Because our thoughts aren't thinking. How do we think about the thoughts? How do we navigate through the thoughts?
Mhm.
It's doing the work, really.
Yeah, it really is. Finding those practices where we can overcome those thoughts in whatever way, or we can rise above them as a better way to frame it. And that
Yeah.
goes back to gratitude and just creating that level of appreciation and joy. Does it, what is it for you as an individual? Understanding that and putting it into a real practice that's consistent enough so that you can actually utilize it and step into that flow state as much as possible on a consistent basis. And we all get thrown off
Yeah.
sometimes. Like, I haven't been deep in my meditation practice for the last few months because I went out of town and for the month of December, and then I got injured. And, it's just difficult when
Yeah.
you're injured and you're in pain to meditate from the frame that I do. And so I kind of lost touch with my practice, but I'm in complete creative flow and have been for months.
Okay.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, do
Yeah.
I, like beat myself up that I'm not meditating like I have been for years? Or do I go with it and be like, well, this is the next phase of my life. And I'm sure I'll come back to meditation, but I'm trusting my own instinct and intuition that this is
Yeah.
what I need right now. And all of that meditation that I've done has given me the awareness, the groundedness, the whatever I need to show up in this moment in the way that I am now. And
They're like seasons,
it's like
really, isn't it?
seasons. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And being
Yeah. So like
okay
you're.
with that and not being like,
Yeah. Yeah.
get
Exactly.
in that mindset
Exactly.
of being like, well, I'm not meditating. So, my life is I'm not going to have this, or I'm like, no, like I've created enough momentum behind it where it's like, all right, I'm in it. I'm in it. Like, let's go. I'm riding that board like Laird. And
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And it's like writers and musicians, they go through the seasons as well.
sure.
Like it's we
Honoring that process instead of
exactly.
feeling like you need to be doing something. This is a big thing that I think most people, or a lot of people, struggle with, or we all do in whatever way, in whatever frame. But it's even like with eating. Well, I saw on Instagram that I should be eating this way. I do intuitive eating. It's like, well, what do I feel like eating? And sometimes
Yeah.
that's a donut, and a lot of people would be like, oh, you should never eat a donut. But it's like, well, maybe that donut is gonna, because it's the same thing with frequency. It's like that's to heal anything or to transmute a distortion in your system or whatever. You have to have the same frequency meet that so that you can transmute it, so it breaks it apart. Well, maybe that donut once every 2 years that I eat, because I literally eat a donut like maybe every 2 years, maybe that's attaching to some crap in my system that needs to transmute. And so I have a craving for a donut. It's like, it's just an example, but it's like, and maybe it's not true, but you know what I mean? It's like, that's the way I look at it. And if that's the story I tell myself, then it's going to be true.
Yeah, it's just like, this is just one aspect of like recognizing and appreciating that you're in the flow state. These are the things that happen.
But I think a lot of people haven't built back to practice, building a practice and building, something that's meaningful for the individual, not what's meaningful for me or Neil, but for the individual. I think most people they never get to that level of confidence in themselves or in their practice to just know. And it's an inner knowing to just do that thing, and that's going to be right for them. And it could be eating, or it could be the job that they do, or it could be the relationship they're in, or whatever it is. But just trusting that inner knowing, building that level of trust with that inner knowing, because I know when I haven't listened to that gut feeling or that inner knowing, I got crushed when I tried to
Rush
overcome it, and be like, oh, no, I'm not listening to that, like I'm doing this other thing. No, never works out.
never works out. It's like having variable standards, really.
Right.
Instead of like, this comes back to another topic of mine, is like, another way to confuse people is to actually ask them, like, what are the values you live by? People really have to think about that one, though. But like, when they have to think about it, then like, how are you living to those standards, to those values? Are you holding a high standard?
Mm-hmm.
You know, are like, this the ultimate dating hack? Like, want to be with someone, then they have to have a high standard. That's,
Yeah.
like, what does that mean then? And how does that relate to the way they hold themselves to their own values?
Yeah, well, it's yeah, how they hold themselves, because that's when you really, I think, start to thrive and be more magnetic and attract what you really want. Is the things that we've kind of leaned into here, is like deciding what you want and becoming the person that deserves that thing that you want.
Exactly. I saw something from Dave Gold today. It was be the person that you want to attract.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. But that's living to a high standard, then, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Knowing your values, knowing what you want,
Well, it's not that
knowing
hard
where
to
you're
have a
going.
high standard, because when you think about it, average is 50%, 50% of people are
Yeah.
below average, pretty much. That's just the way averages work, right?
Yeah.
So you already
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
50% of the people out of the way, and if you're on a call like this, you're not average. So if you're thinking about anything even close to the things we're talking about, you're not average. So you got that going for you. So how do you build on it?
Really, yeah. Yeah. But again, like, it's amazing that the percentages are just crazy, man. The amount of people we talk about only using 2% of our brain. It's like only 2% of people use their brain, maybe 8% maximum. Everyone else is kind of going with the flow.
Well, they're not in flow. I think they're
No, they're not. There, there's like a very small. There's a single digit percentages of people that are in flow.
Yeah. Now, I've never heard those figures, how many people are like using their brain or really thinking outside of the context of, it's almost like living in the illusion. And there are, I believe in, and in my experience, there are NPCs, like non-playable characters, but there's also people who are sort of living in the illusions, and they're caught in these loops of distortions where they're focused on the wrong things from me, and they're just where they're at, and I have compassion for that, and it's like that's where they're at, and I don't really see myself as better than them or whatever, because they're just on their spiritual path, at the end of the day. But it's like when you're,
Yeah,
I see people all the time. I go into buy some gas or whatever, and I go in to grab a lotto
yeah,
ticket or something, and I love playing the lotto, and I see these people that are just, I went 10 o'clock this morning. There's somebody buying a 12-pack of beer at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, God, like, there's like no scenario where I'd be buying a 12-pack of beer at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd rather buy a lotto ticket because, yeah, it's like, the odds are forever in my favor.
there, yeah. There's
Yeah, and it's like I know where that goes. I know where
yeah.
that 12-pack goes. I've been there.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like it's not your best friend, really, alcohol. Like I was just back in Ireland for Christmas. It's really remarkable to see people that I've known since I was a kid, and they're doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're still doing the same thing, shuffling around the place, going to the same bars,
Yeah,
same pubs,
yeah.
doing the same thing. In the same job, like the same hairstyle,
And they just
same time of
wonder.
clothes.
They're just like, why
Why
would
did
you
you
be
leave?
doing anything else? Like, this is, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what we were hinting at. It's like they're not really expanding their consciousness.
No,
It's like
no.
they're in these loops, and they're just like, okay, well, instead of facing myself or facing my distortions or leaning into the edges of my comfort zones, I'm just going to go down to the bar, or I'm going to turn on Netflix, or I'm going to do whatever. And those things are fine, sometimes. It's like, we all need to kind of check out once in a while. But if that's your whole game, there's a lot there.
That's
You're
the whole
missing a
game, man.
lot. There's a lot more that you could be doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And again, I'm grateful for where I'm at on the consciousness scale too, because I was that person back then.
Yeah.
I was that person too, and I got
It,
snapped out of it.
it's a strange false sense of security.
Yeah.
Like like we didn't grow up with much in Ireland. There was always talk about it when you get a job. Make sure it's secure,
Right. Yeah.
lifetime job.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like yeah, like it was like yeah, live small.
Right.
It wasn't that it was a philosophy, but it was just the way it was.
Yeah.
There was nothing.
It wasn't like Go take risks. Be bold. Be courageous. Throw caution to the wind. Go create the
Yeah,
life of your dreams.
when I got my first visa for this country, they were like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why are you going out there? Why can't you stay here? Like, you could work with your father, blah blah blah." I'm like,
Yeah,
"That's
you'll
the
have it
whole
made.
point. That's the whole point, man. I don't want security. I don't know what I want, but I know I don't want security
Yeah,
because it is."
it is false. Some people get away with it. They have security in it and it serves them well their whole life and they never get the short end of it. But a
Yeah,
lot a lot of other people, they have that false sense and then it gets ripped away from them. They don't know what to do and they're just kind of like spinning. There's an interesting story. It doesn't not completely related, but I'll keep it quick. When an Uber driver of mine about a year ago, he was from the Sudan, and I started talking to him about how he got over here. And he came from this little village, like 3,000 people there. And somehow, I think it was at the library or the school, they had like one computer in town, crappy computer, whatever. But he got his little 20 minutes on the internet, and somehow he came across the visa lottery for the United States.
okay.
So he applied, and it was kind of like, whatever. Everybody in town was like, what a waste of time. You're crazy, all this
Yeah.
stuff. And he got the visa and he came over and started a life for himself. And then, since then he like teaches everybody in the village because they're all like, oh, how do I get one of those? So now it's like everybody in the village every year when the
Yeah.
opening comes up, like everybody applies, everybody in the whole village. And he's
Okay.
become like this like local celebrity because now he's in the United States. And now like 8 other people from his village have gotten visas over. I just thought it was interesting that, it kind of relates to how, people are just naysayers and the people who take action and are like, well, I'm going to at least give it a shot. It's a long shot, but I'm going to try it. And that's the way I've always lived my life. I've always been like, you know what, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I'm not attached to the outcome, but I'm attached to living my life and as excited and hopeful as I can possibly be at all times. And I want to always leave the door open to possibility instead of just closing it and being like, well, I'm just going to stay here because it's comfortable.
That's it, and like the first summer that I came out here, despite all the naysayers, I discovered I was the first one of my family to come to this country in maybe 5 generations. And
Wow.
I walked into a family of like 200 more plus Murphys that like were unknown to us. We didn't even know about these people.
So you came over and found your ancestors.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. The people that left the country back in the day, whenever that was, and like all their descendants and how like they had like built the whole family community in and around the Boston area. It was just phenomenal,
Wow,
you
that's
know.
amazing.
It is when you think about it. I ended up. I think I might have been a month in the country. Like for the July 4th, one of the families had a reunion. I was like, a reunion? And when I got there, I was like just blown away, man. Hundreds of people, and everyone wanted to meet me. I was the fresh meat off the boat, the last, like
And
the
you guys
first
over in
one.
Ireland didn't even know about this other clan?
No,
How
no.
were they related to you? By grandparents or something? Cousins?
My great grandparent, I think three of his brothers came out.
Interesting. Wow, that's fascinating. A little bit of trivia
And
for you, Jeff Howell trivia. I grew up in a town called Murphy from the time I was about 5 to 23 in Texas. It's
wow,
called Murphy, Texas.
okay, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I grew up in
wow,
Murphy, Murphy's Law.
yeah, like
We got we got to get rid of that Murphy's Law. That's not good for us. I haven't said that in a long time. I haven't even thought about it, but
yeah, we just make up Murphy's Law as we go along, man. Whatever,
yeah,
whatever happens, we just say, that's just Murphy's Law, man.
right.
But yeah, look, that would never have happened if I hadn't come out that time. We would never have, our worlds would never have collided.
Mhm.
So like ignoring the naysayers, not even giving them like time of day really when it came to it. I was like, I'm getting this visa and I'm gone,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it's that call to adventure, right? That
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
that
the
hero
hero's
it's the
journey.
hero's journey that I think a lot of people they never strike out and hear that call to adventure, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think for me it was. I think it comes back to the consciousness again. It's just the inane chatter of everyday life in Ireland back then was just like, man, it wrecked my head.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about something real here, man? You know?
Right.
Can we just dig a bit deeper here? Because this is boring. It was boring, man. That's why I left, really.
Mm-hmm.
And like definitely, I knew there was something more. I didn't know, like there was no way of expressing that kind of thought back then. But I knew there was something more to all of this than just going through the motions for the rest of your life.
Yeah, there's gotta be.
Uh,
That's the way I always thought. There's gotta be more than this. And as angry and
yeah,
fucked up as I was in
yeah,
my 20s and most
yeah,
of my 30s,
yeah,
it's like I knew there was something more. I just didn't know how to add. I didn't have the right people around me. I had to marinate in my shit for
yeah,
a lot,
yeah,
until that time came when it was like the spark, but I was in it. I was deep in it. And so I understand it from that angle of being in it and not really. I mean, I guess if the things in my life hadn't happened the way that they did and I
yeah,
got like shaken out of it or snapped out of it, I might still be spinning in the same circle. The same as I see other people and I'm like, why don't you do something, But I've gotten away from that, judgment. There, I guess there's still some there, obviously, but I don't really I just focus on myself. I focus on my own backyard. Who can I inspire? Who can I be that's going to inspire other people to take a second look at
yeah,
themselves and maybe be like, okay, well, maybe there is something more, because I always felt like there was, and I never gave up hope. I got stuck in some loops, but I don't know. It's just,
yeah,
I'm very grateful for my life falling apart. The life that I had,
yeah,
hacked together with, barbed wire, whatever, all this wired together and
yeah,
crafted together in this way, because otherwise I'd still be trying to keep that mess together rather
right,
than building a new foundation on,
yeah,
like you're saying, core principles, values, what I actually want, which is an ongoing, moving target at
yeah.
times. But I mean, that's where life got good, was when everything got really bad.
You put yourself out there to expose yourself really to new things, novelty, learning more about yourself.
Yeah.
How was I going to cope, like as 20-year-old in Boston, first time, you know, first time in America. Like, man, it was just it's like AI right now. It was just a whole new dimension.
Mm.
Just shit that you'd see on TV, and now you're living in it.
Mhm.
Back in the day of black and white TVs and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just I don't know where this is going, but this is I know I need to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the way I've
I
always been
know.
too. And it is, like I say, there were a lot of times where I trusted the call, I trusted my inner knowing, and there are a lot of times when I didn't trust it, and I paid the price. And so now I've learned I trust it. Well, I could talk to you forever, man. This has been a fascinating conversation, and it went deep into AI and then kind of pulled back out to some more macro stuff and some life experiences. I mean, we've been long around a long path here over the last hour, and yeah, man, we'll have to talk some more. This has been great.
Yeah, you'll have to have me on your podcast.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I'm out of town for a
Yeah,
couple
sure.
weeks, and then when I come back, we'll figure something out.
All right, man. Enjoy the Caribbean. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Looking forward to it.
Excellent. We well deserved.
Thank you so much. All right, Neil.
All right, Joe. Thanks for coming on,
Yeah,
man.
thank
I
you. I
really
appreciate
appreciate
it.
the chat. Guys, seriously, there has never, ever been a better time in the whole of history to be a man. It's a big challenge. No doubt whatsoever. But how are we rising to this challenge? What are we doing about it? That's why I'm here. That's why I do this work. It's never been a better time, ever, to be a man. Let's get on it. Call it what you want. But as guys, there's an exciting challenge to being a man these days. And it doesn't take that much to really stand out. And look, you are not as far away from where you want to be, as you might think. Not when you can look at it from a different angle and get a better appreciation for the experience that has got you this far. You could call it a psychological cold plunge. It's time to freshen things up. Being a dynamic man. That is the challenge today.